Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. My name's John Deeks, and it's wonderful to be here for this, well, it's a christening in a way, isn't it? In tribes and many cultures, the wise and the wisdom is sought from those elders who've been through the fire, have done the things that the young'uns haven't done, and they are revered and looked to for advice and guidance. But to source wisdom from those who've been through hard times, who've been through life, and who of us have not had hard times or been through crises in their life. It's wonderful to be able to speak to somebody who has been able to write all of her feelings and her wisdom in this first volume, because I think there's going to be more, of a book called Rise and Shine, Awaken Your Greatest Self. Would you please put your hands together and welcome the author, Kaylene Wynn. Kaylene, oh great wise one, oh great wise one, I have come to the mountain to seek guidance from the guru. But it is true that in our culture we don't revere those who can offer wisdom and guidance like other cultures do.
Sure. I feel that a lot of the wisdom that I bring comes obviously a very spiritual level, and that has a stigma attached to it for a lot of people. They tend to think that it involves religion of some description, but it isn't. We are all spiritual beings here to have a physical experience at the end of the day.
Also, of course, it doesn't just come from spiritual, it comes from a lot of hard yards that you've had in your early life, and we're not going to delve too much into that because, well, basically, that's a movie. And overall, you know, you have been through hard times, and you do come to this book and to this launch with a lot of real-time wisdom.
Yes, yes. Look, the journey has brought me to where I am today.
The journey, yeah.
Yes, and for that reason, I'm very proud of what I've been able to hopefully articulate in the book for people about my journey. A lot of people haven't realised probably what my journey has been, but I've come to a place where I feel that the shame that I've carried for many years has dissipated now, because I now use that to help people to grow and evolve for themselves in their struggles of life.
I actually saw an interesting article in the paper about Magda Szubanski talking about, I'm not going to have fear rule my life anymore. To a degree, that's what you could also use.
True. Fear is something that I've probably known a lot of my life, and fear has taught me many things. As I put in the book, that the fear was my guru on many levels, and fear kept me small. Fear kept me in a place of not being enough, not feeling enough, feeling like I lacked something, never knowing what that was. So the journey has brought me to a place of where I've evolved through these processes and learnt these things along the way for myself. And even though I've done diplomas and things in other areas, it always comes back to the core of who we are, knowing who we are at that core and using that as the foundation to build upon.
So when did the genesis of this book come to your mind and thinking, I have to put all of this down on paper?
This book has been coming for many, many years, and it's mainly come through a lot of my clients who have said that I need to put something in a book, and I never knew when was the right time to do that. And I suppose the last 18 months I was brought to a place where I felt it was time to now try and put pen to paper and express it the best way that I possibly can. Not perfectly, but the best way I can.
How much of you is in this book? And I don't mean what you've learned, but personal you.
Everything's in this book is me.
Really?
Everything, from the beginnings of my journey to how I live today, how I teach today, how I train people today.
We have a lot of talk these days about mindfulness, and that's sort of the buzzword in 2017 and beyond. I'm just wondering, what does mindfulness really mean, and what does it mean to Kaylene Wynn?
Simply just being aware having the place to observe yourself in any given moment, whether it be work, professional, relationship. I think most people are very mindless, and when I say that with respect, that it's an unconscious process in how they choose to live rather than from a conscious place. And when you operate from that conscious place within, you are listening to what's going on in that chatterbox in your head, you're listening to what comes out of your mouth, you're observing what you're doing, and you're in control of any changes you want to make in that process.
Okay, so an overview, if you were going to be in an elevator with somebody and talk about what this fabulous book is all about, what would you tell them?
I would tell them it's a book about, it doesn't matter how bad things are in your life, there is always a positive direction for you to go and learn about yourself in the process. And by doing that is allowing yourself to learn. That's the key.
I've have my own personal copy of this, which has been signed, and there will be an opportunity for you all to have your signed book as well. But I'd like to go through some chapters, if I might. Sure. What are some of the chapters that stand out to you?
Look, there's something in every chapter. I feel the personal story of myself, I think, is important. I think people can connect to the fear within themselves that they have around things where they're not living their life the way that they would like to live their life. I think they can relate to some of that. I love the chapter about understanding the ego part of ourselves, knowing ourselves that the ego is the fear within us all. And
can I have that again? What's it?
The ego is the fear within us all, because the ego operates mainly from controlling us and manipulating us through fear. So it keeps us small, it compares, it competes, it judges.
So having a strong sense of self is probably more important than having an inflated ego.
Yes, absolutely. Because people hide under the umbrella of the ego. When people are always attracted to people who have got ego, because they hide themselves under that umbrella of feeling powerful. When the ego is actually a place of where we feel powerless, and we either feel inferior, wanting to feel superior, rather than coming from the authentic self where we operate from a place of just being who we choose to want to be.
When it gets down to soul power, you talk about integrating your whole self, also a self-discovery tour.
Yes.
And I'm thinking this again is very personal.
It is, because it has been my journey. It has been a self-discovery tour for me. Understanding myself at a physical, emotional, and mental and spiritual level. But it's been the spiritual part of me that has helped heal those wounds of the emotional and the mental self.
You also talk about oath to oneself.
Yes.
What is Kaylene Wynn's oath to herself?
To be the truest, authentic self that I can be, and do it with love.
Does that deserve a round of applause? In Soul Power, you also talk about spiritual Wi-Fi.
Yes.
Does that involve NBN? Or?
Thank goodness it doesn't. Don't you agree?
I do.
Thank God there's another governing body that is higher than any power that we can ever connect to. It's a place that we can connect to, whether we do it through meditation, even just simply, gardening for me. Going out into the garden and just gardening. You connect into another part of yourself where you're not thinking anymore and you're not connecting to what's going on. You're in another zone. And that's what I call that place of just being. And I love that. It's where we get to express our creativity, because that's what the soul's here to do, to create. And we're all here to create something powerful for ourselves that connects us to that universal connection.
The university of life.
Don't you love the university of life?
Not the university, but the
University of life, absolutely.
Expand on that chapter.
Well, I'm trying to express that basically we're all here to learn, we're here to grow, we're here to evolve. And we have what is regarded as obviously our own free will to decide whether we do that or not. And obviously there's going to be challenges one way or the other, whether we choose to take up the challenge of living our better life or choose not to. There's consequences either way. But what people don't understand through that process of consequences, for every cause and effect, there's not just one cause or one effect. There is hundreds of effects that affect us emotionally, mentally, physically and spiritually. And we don't get to see that on a ripple effect.
I don't want this book to be seen as a cube of sugar, which is going to, and I'm sure you don't either, which is going to be something you take and you go, oh, now I feel better. Right now, the whole world is great, and I'm going to be very positive, and it's all going to be terrific. Where does this book fit into someone's life? And I'm someone like with all their problems and whatever.
I'd like to think it's a book that can fit into everyone's life. I'm aware that people are not awakened, perhaps to the level of what I want. You know, I feel awakened within myself, and that continues as a process. But you know, I'm looking at feedback that I'm getting back from people who don't know me, which is important because everyone here obviously does know me. And it's interesting hearing some of that feedback coming through, that they're telling me that there's something in there that they relate to for themselves. And if they can grasp onto that and use that as a place to grow upon and learn for themselves and develop that part of themselves, it will help let them go to the next stage, the next level of whatever it is they're trying to achieve.
I guess this is a book that you would very much have one of those little tags that you put in things to sort of remind you of, or those sign here type tags.
Draw all over it.
Yeah, draw all over
it. Lines, whatever you like, do it, because that's what I've done to a lot of my books over the years.
Get the highlighter out.
Yes, absolutely.
And go back to it. Use it sitting beside the bed and...
Because you connect to something, and it's important. If one sentence, if you can take something, you know, one sentence out of that book for yourself, I've done my job in helping someone awaken to another level of themselves.
Like for me, think before I speak. I'm sure it's in here somewhere. For husbands, think before you speak. Rise and shine, awaken your greater self. Right, let's go to the audience and see if somebody has any questions. Anybody have a question they'd like to ask? Yeah, hi. What is your name?
Lana Johnson.
Hi, Lana.
Hi. My question for Kaylene is, you know, you talked about the book being a really unabridged version of your life. So as you were writing the book, were there any hesitations for you as you were putting it all out there on the paper?
Yes.
Good question.
Yes, it was I obviously had to relive a lot of the childhood and obviously my younger years again. And it brought a lot of stuff up again. But
a lot of scabs, huh?
Yeah, it actually was a bit like that. And it allowed me, because of where I sit in my evolvement of who I am today, it allowed me to manage it better than what I would have done, where in the past I probably would have used it against myself in some way, thinking, oh, what are people going to think about this process, where, you know, my voice is to help people in that process.
Yeah.
It is, it's a fear again, exactly. But I've had to let it go, and it is what it is, and, you know, I'm not in control of what people see from it, but
You can't write a book like this without opening your soul, can you?
Well, it is. It comes from there. It comes straight from there. But you have to put yourself back in where you were at that time, and that's not where I live anymore. I don't live in that place, and that's the message I want people to understand: is your past is not who you are. It is never who you are. You know.
Go, girl.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Laura. Great question. Kaylene, thank you so much, and I want to thank very much indeed friends, supporters, loved ones and others, and I think you know who the others are, who've come along today to be part of this very special launch. The very first book by Kaylene Wynn, Rise and Shine, Awaken Your Greater Self. It's a book which has tremendous personal insight. Yes. It's a book that is... seeks to help you gain more insight in yourself, and also it's not a cure, but it's a roadmap.
Can I say, John, people do look for cures, and I see it in, you know, on a physical level, that we want short, sharp things to get us moving. But life is not cured. Life is managed. And we need to learn how to manage that. And the only way to do that is by managing ourselves and knowing ourselves.
Here is a guide that might just help you. Rise and Shine, Awaken Your Greater Self, Kaylene Wynn. It's available now, and it's also available on this website, once again, or the W's.
KayleneWynn.com.
Thank you very much indeed again, ladies and gentlemen, and we do appreciate it. And we're going to have a book signing, so we do invite you to stay back and sign some books with Kaylene. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big round of applause to your author, Kaylene Wynn.